Today, we're sitting down with the founders of the Fun Robotics Network, a group that started with a simple passion for robotics and competition and grew into a home for a spirited and connected community. From their earliest broadcasts to the moments that brought teams, mentors, and alumni together, we're taking a deep dive into the history of the Fun Robotics Network. This interview is about where it all began, the challenges along the way, and the people that helped build something bigger than the media that we put together. Whether you've been a part of the community since our first stream, or you're just discovering it 10 years later, on this episode of Rewind, we're covering the story behind Fun Robotics Network. Fun Robotics Network was created in the growing years of YouTube to meet the needs of a generation that was becoming more and more connected online. But it wasn't always fun and games. Mike and Justin pioneered the thought of a talk show focused on FIRST robotics, chatting about teams, events, and strategy for the world to tune in. From a call-in line to streaming on live stream, Mike, Justin, walk us through the initial idea of Mike and Justin in the morning.
Wow.
All right, thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is great.
Through
to talk about this.
We've gone through a lot of memories just kind of coming into the show. I don't like the show started. I think it was really your idea, and from my side, I remember we met for pizza on the street, and I remember you were just talking about like what if we did some sort of like top 25 robot thing. And college football is not very big where we're from, up in the Northeast. Like I had no clue how the 25 rankings worked, anything like that. So I think that's kind of like what we were.
That was definitely like the initial thought was like sports, because I think it was back when first it was really trying to push like the sport for the mind mentality, right? So we're like, oh, sports has this top 25 rankings. We should too. So we started with, I think it was the fall of 2011 with a 2012 preseason top 25, which college football still does, the preseason top 25. And we knew we had this list. And then we were like, well, what are we going to do with the list once we have it? Like, how are teams going to learn about the list? We're just going to post online. And then we had the idea of having a web show to count down the FRC top 25.
Yeah, that's like, it just kind of like evolved, I guess, kind of like going. And I think it's like, because the original name of like Mike and Justin in the morning, I think was also modeled after an ESPN show.
ESPN, right?
Was it Mike and Mike in the morning?
Mike and Mike in the morning.
Yeah, I think so. That was like, so that's kind of like where it started. And it was just, I don't know, like it just kind of like grew from there. I think we're going maybe to the next question with that. Like it like just kind of just kept evolving. Like we wanted to do more than just post a list into Chief Delphi. And it was a way just to kind of get some people in and just kind of talk about FIRST. I think we were really passionate about FIRST at the time, and still are, you more so than me at this point. But like, it was just a way to, just talk about more about FIRST.
Yep. Does Mike and Justin ITM@gmail.com still exist and work?
It may.
Everybody should send an email to that. Just saying that.
I'll have to get the recovery going somehow.
Yes, right.
I know it's been a minute, I'm sure.
It is like, I don't know, like it just like each season as we went, like I think we added wrinkles and changes and things. Like when we first did the voting system for top 25, like there was we were hand calculating, inputting them into like a next Google Sheets and like coming up with that. We would have, I think, a couple dozen maybe at first, and then it like really grew into like over 100 or something, and it was just like crazy. And then we may remember first it was like any team was eligible. So people were like voting based on teams that hadn't even played yet.
And wouldn't play till like week 4.
Yeah. So then like as years grew on, then we said, okay, you can only vote for, robots that were competing that week. And that change, I think, was one of the best that we ever done.
Absolutely.
Because we went from talking about maybe like 40 teams total through a season to talking about potentially like over 100.
Yeah.
So like small teams that were really excelling like in their area really started to get noticed. And I really think that's what really got our traction going, was that smaller teams were really being talked about on a big level.
Yeah. And the fact that you could compete and get on the list for that week and not have to break into the top 25 of powerhouse teams, right? Yeah. Once 148 was on the list, they were never coming off. So like by the end of the season, Mike and I were trying to figure out how are we going to talk about 148 for 6 weeks in a row
when they hadn't played. For 2 weeks.
Like so it was definitely the I think the most influential change that we made.
It's we did it for years, week in and week out. I think one of the things here, we were in your basement at times. When we were traveling with our team, we were in a hotel room.
We stayed out of my dorm room in the suite.
That's right. It came up. We both got, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I think I got a ticket. I think when
You did.
came up.
We were leaving, going to Buckeye. I think that after that show, you got a ticket on the way out.
So,
And were you guys in college together too?
no, we went separately. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah. I'm excited to get to some of these other questions too. There's gonna be a lot of good stories covered.
Yeah, so you kind of covered my next question, which was how did Mike and Justin sort of evolve? But how did your show evolve in itself? So you started by talking about just the top 25 teams. How did that sort of grow and expand and sort of form what eventually became Recap, talking about every event?
I think that was maybe more so into the merge with Tyler, which I think will kind of be a later question as well. But I think it was just, so we had like the top 25, we talked about the 25. I think like so big thing, actually, another big thing about the top 25 was not really the list. Like it was more so the process of getting together every week turned into like hundreds of other fans on a weekly basis. I think that's what we really enjoyed the most about it. And people always like gave us a hard time about the list, and we're like, don't take yourself too seriously. Like don't take this list too seriously. Like,
Sorry.
The point of this is more of like getting together and talking about robots. So I think like we were just, we were talking about teams. Then we started doing, I think, maybe event previews. We started doing some behind the bumpers. We did behind the glass, I think, once. It was just like we were looking for other ways to kind of present some robot material, I guess, like some content, I guess. I mean, we never consider ourselves like content creators in the space that it is now. It was just
Looking back at it,
I guess so.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess it was more so just like getting together and just talking robots.
They just wanted to do stuff, right? Like, I mean, that's really all it was.
And we had the time, right?
Yeah,
It's like
so many of our ideas came from like viewers, like people, like fans. Like I was watching some really early videos to prepare for this, and there's a lot of people that I saw that came on the show. Like Jim Zondag did a division preview for us, and a lot of times we would get ideas from other people, like, hey, you guys should try to do this, you guys should do this. Like I think that's where Behind the Glass, liking up drive teams came in. So just things like that, like Mike said, just trying to find new ways to bring content and get people excited about first.
it was really found this niche of people that really were just like consuming first at like all levels, and like in a fun way. Like we just felt like this community, like besides just us, like you said, we just met these people all across the country that just like were eating, breathing first, and just like wanted more of it in a different tangible way. I think that's kind of why we had the success that we did at the time.
Mike, I got to ask, or Mike or Justin, what is the 221 Robotics Systems, like the sponsor you guys had in the beginning? Is that just a robotics team or what?
I don't know if I remember.
Oh gosh, what is his name?
For one of our sponsors?
Yeah, it was like he's still a little bit active on Chief Delphi, but I think he was one of the first people to try to bring an off-the-shelf swerve module to FRC. And 221 was like, he was trying to start his company. I think it was like Andrew or something, Lad or Lack, I don't know. But yeah, he was like one of our first sponsors. I don't even know what he gave us, probably $100 or something. But yeah, I saw that too, and I was trying to think of it.
I know, I was trying to remember.
We'll leave the family out of it, but it was like we showed up to championship one day, and they gave us like a check for like couple $100.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, they did.
And they were like, just thank you for what you do for our community, and just like gave it to us to use for the show. Like, are you serious?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
221 Robotics Systems is still a website too. It's still real.
What?
Yep.
Yeah, look this up now.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's Lap.
Oh, okay.
Andrew Lapp? That name definitely rings a bell. So
Yeah.
we'll put that on screen so we can just
Yeah, but it was a way
Nice.
for like small and big companies too. I mean, we had various at Andy Mark at one point, I think, and Vex at one point. Dude, Vex flew us out.
That was like what we thought we made. That was like a big deal for their robot in like 3 days.
In
3 days.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was we called that at the time,
It was.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
No, they called it something else. I thought like there was Robot in 3 days, but they called it something else.
Oh, they called it Build Blitz.
Oh,
Build Blitz. Yeah. It was but they picked us up in a limo. They took us out to like a steak dinner. We thought we were celebrities. They made us feel so forced. But it was cool to cover their build blitz for 3 days.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was the first kickoff with my team that I ever missed. We were down there for kickoff, and obviously the 3 days after. So that was an adjustment, but that was cool.
Well, there you go.
We've had so many opportunities because of this. It's crazy. That was a core memory though.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So speaking of some of the shows that you guys did and looking forward to the future, when it sort of spiraled out and became something that maybe you wanted to build on, Tyler, Fun at that time was growing as sort of this separate group to Mike and Jason. And then you came together to form the early foundations. Walk us through what those early episodes were like and how it ended up forming this larger network.
Oh God. So
It's a
you
big
know,
question.
I'm trying to remember the conversations, Mike and Justin, that we had like initially, because when Fun was initially created, or first updates now when it first came out, I just wanted to create like a variety show of like, let's just have some, let's just make some more content going on. I was coming off, my team was a world finalist and stuff, and I was just kind of like, hey, what's next? I want to make something else to do, and so when we started making more, we had like the Fun show or the First Updates Now show or something like that. And then our first kind of like main show we started was Spotlight. And Spotlight was a show where we brought in key mentors or key people of the first community. I think our first one was with Andy Baker. And you just had conversations and chatting and stuff. And then we just started making more and more. And I think, you all got to realize that like back in the day, like there was, for the most part, not a lot of consistent content, especially off season for things as well. So that was kind of the big difference. Look at all that lack of hair that I had there. But when we kind of like had more people come in and get involved. Colin Foltz, who's, many of you currently is a senior director of FIRST programs in FRC and FTC. He was one of our first co-hosts ever. And I think that's a really cool thing that we had as well too, that Colin was not working for FIRST at the time. He was between jobs, and it just kind of like you guys, Mike and Justin, like we just had more people that were like, hey, I want to get involved. I like this stuff, right? And then you guys can correct me if wrong. I think that the general story is as we were getting ready to go into competition season and kind of preparing, I was interested in doing something kind of similar to what like Top 25 was, but I didn't want to step on your guys' toes. In the past, I was a guest on your guys' shows and covering division analyst stuff. And you guys might be able to mention this better than what I can, but I think that the gist of it was that you guys had graduated college, and we're like, it was one of those where there's just so much back end work to do for this stuff that we're like, hey, that's a lot of work. I don't want to necessarily keep doing it at the level that we were. And I think my proposal was like, well, what if we combine forces? I have somebody else that can help out. His name's Nick, who's awesome, Nick Olson. Who's a great friend of mine that was offering to help produce stuff in the background. And I think that's kind of where it took off from there. Am I mistelling any of those guys? Correct me on this.
I don't think so. I think like you said, we had kind of had you on the top 25 for either like preview for championship or recap for championship, something like that. And we've always kind of said we were probably really close to being done. I think it's just at that point, I don't know how many years in, 4 or 5 years, 6 years. I mean, it was like a grind. Like it took a lot of our week times. And like, I guess our shows were coexisting at one point. Like we never like saw it as really competition or anything. I think we just saw it as different. And when you came to us with that, we were like, definitely, cause I think that we were about ready. Like we weren't, I don't know. It's like, I guess burnout a little bit. Like it's just so much time invested into doing it. And then you kind of came to us and asked about combining forces, and we were all about it. We just thought that would just be such a great move for not only us, not only you, but like the FIRST community. You had a great vision for it. You still do, obviously. And I think you modernized the voting system. You worked with somebody to like do all that.
Cassie Beck back in the day on Cybersonics initially, I think it was.
Yeah. So the whole voting system like greatly improved, and just streamlined all of that. And I guess the rest is kind of history from that. So basically, we were just going to take our show and be a subset of your show. We would still be doing the work, but a lot, a little bit easier at times for it. But
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Let the record show. Cement this in history.
yeah.
well, and I think really a big thing I think that has just been a foundation for fun in general is that it's always been about the group of people who come together to make it happen, right? It has never been about me, and it's never been about other individuals in this. It's like we need so many people to make this happen, and all the cogs that come together to make it work. And I think for us going in, my background was in marketing, digital marketing, and consumer behavior, that sort of thing, and organizational stuff. And for me, it was just like, hey, how do we kind of harness some of this and just come forward with a consistent plan of content, right, and move forward that way. And I think that was kind of the big thing. I know I was joking with you guys earlier is that I think the Mike and Justin in the morning was habitually 15 minutes late, sort of thing like that.
Yeah.
And, that was one of the conversations I remember. I'm just like, all right, if we're going to do this, like we're going to start on time. And when because people expect it and stuff like that. And also a lot of people don't realize this was like, the early days of Twitch and stuff like that, just starting out. You guys were was it live stream you were on?
Live stream.
Yeah. I mean, we started on Google Plus, I think, somewhere like initially too. And it was just crazy, like, that back in the day and where that's evolved from too. Yeah, absolutely wild.
The thing about it too was like you had to find people who viewed this kind of as like a passion project.
Yeah.
Yes. While there were some sponsors there, like it was like either physical things they would give us, like marketing stuff, or money, obviously, but like that's obviously not a salary or anything like that. Like you had to find people, which we found with you found with us, with Nick, with others, that viewed this kind of as like a hobby and like a passion thing, and who would put in the work like that, So like joining forces was just such a great I don't know, synergy or something, just to come together like that.
Yeah, I mean, we never would have been able to create what's been created.
No, it's like
possible.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention too is Ari mentioned you mentioned earlier with the recap shows and stuff. You guys were doing all that on your own, at least for a year or two prior, where you guys I think were covering every single event, because when we started it was like, oh, there's a third person to help cover every single event now or something.
So
yeah.
I don't have a strong recollection of that.
I don't either, I guess.
I do have a strong recollection of people complaining that because we did talk about some events. It did happen a lot. I should recover the Mike and Justin email just for the complaints. But I think what happened was we would cover a few events. I don't know if we had like a name for them, like key events or anything like that. But people were complaining that all we were talking about was the same teams, the same events, blah, blah, blah. I never remember covering all the events. And you got to understand, back then, much fewer
maybe
events,
5,
right?
10
much fewer events than it is now.
Yeah.
I never remember covering all the events.
Right, but the ability to to accumulate any content or just like data from those events, unless you knew somebody there, totally different ballgame. Like the fact that you guys were able to create content and like have discussions that were like, factual, but also like a narrative, I thought was really impressive, because it wasn't easy to get like all the data that we have now that's so like easily available for us. Like it's getting easier in the last few years, even like when we're doing recap and stuff, to be able to actually go and find out like what happened at an event.
I mean,
like
it wouldn't have been possible without Blue Alliance, and that was huge. And like, but like like you're saying, Christine, like the videos, like that's only the last few years that like they're uploaded and now like instantly.
The biggest thing that after the people started complaining about, and I guess I shouldn't say that, you can cut that part out. The biggest thing that changed when people requested their events to be covered is we really wanted, like Christine was saying, a person to take that on. Remember, we would always ask at the end of our show, if anyone wants to cover an event for us, please do. And there were some people who I'm sure, if I look back, are still involved in Fun today, because they were pretty passionate about it. But we were able to find a few people here or there that could cover an event for us and wrote us very nice recaps. I can probably look back at my Chief Delphi direct message.
Or about certain
History.
teams from areas or something.
Yeah, like
It was like the biggest group project. We were
it
trying
wasn't
to do.
trying to get info. We were trying to get info.
Well, to help us, because it's like,
Correct.
especially if it was just Blue Alliance, it's like, well, we can say this was their record. They were #1 seed. They picked 2 and they won. Like,
Yeah.
that's as far as like we could get because there was no videos, there was no Sorry. And again, it was just like the time to do all.
When we first started, I don't think the Blue Alliance existed. There's no way.
Possibly.
Actually, I think it may have because I had a little Blue Alliance. I can close my eyes and picture the original website,
Yeah.
and I think there were actually little Blue Alliance things next to each team. So maybe it was.
I was just scrolling through one of our 2016 recaps, like our first year of fun and FRC Top 25 together, and like the amount of like videos that we were able to show is so negligible. Like in this, like we're like in this episode, this is like week after week 5 or something like that, and I think maybe 3 events we had videos we could actually show something from. So literally just talking heads on screen of trying to talk about events and stuff. Just how brutal that is, right?
That's making me feel so old right now.
Well, we are old. Nah, though.
Stop it. No, I'm not.
Like, if you just said that we were all covering events together in 2016, I would have said you're crazy.
Do you guys remember the Ryan's awesome strategies of the week? It was like that animation thing that we had. Ryan Ginn from, from 2338 originally. Yeah, Ryan's awesome strategies of the week. I was trying to find it. I can't find it. If anybody can find it, like, but I was just trying to think of like
the graphic that year on the lower third.
Oh,
like,
sorry.
Missed the days when we were just swimming in like sponsored cash to be like, yeah, let's decorate the whole field in the theme. Let's get into it. That was one of those fields where it was like, good luck recreating that at home.
Yeah. By the way,
But, like,
if you're
you
watching
imagine-
this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, could you imagine if we were able to watch that season with the coverage abilities at like webcasts and stuff we have now? Like that would be pretty wild. Like I don't know. Like I feel like we're so spoiled now with like just being able to click and like watch from anywhere or like watch like recaps and stuff. So like that's only, I will say, like as annoying as like certain like field angles and stuff can be, like we've come quite a long way in quite a short amount of time, like accessibility wise.
Yeah, I was thinking about that just the other day. Like, first deserves so much credit for saying we're going to put the webcast equipment in each truck for each field, of which there are. Ari could probably speak to this more. I don't know how many fields there are. It's crazy.
I've seen the floor at the warehouse, like at headquarters, where they pack stuff. Like Fiona brought me up there one year, and I was like, "Oh, it's just
They said we're going to do this." And at the end of each match, by the time we get back to our pit, I can bring my drive team and say, "Okay, guys, let's watch this match." It's uploaded like that. Yeah, like that is so powerful and awesome that that has
took a little while to get there, but maybe a little sooner, a little more initiative.
Well, I also feel like it's like in general, it seems like it's just more of an accessible thing in the world. Like it may not have just been like gatekeeping from like, events. Like I think in general it's become more common, but I also think that like they prioritized it because they realized like it's gaining that bigger audience, like this, like there's such value in being able to go and like make media recaps, like go and show your sponsors and show like your parents, your friends, your school, blah blah blah. Like it's endless, and to the point where like it's been interesting to see like how many people Fun's been able to onboard and like provide a platform, whether it's with like the show production or with like show hosting or like media gathering and stuff. When like thinking like where I went to high school, we did not have like a media thing at all. Like talking to Brandon, like his high school had like this whole like morning media crew thing, which was apparently normal. Like even way back in the day, like before Wi-Fi and stuff really existed. Like, and even like the district I teach in now, like we have a sick AV platform, like local, company that comes in and works with the kids. But like this entire like community has provided, in my opinion, such a unique niche opportunity for students and like alumni to try something that they otherwise may not have an opportunity to do in their lives, which like I think is really awesome of all of you, like to provide that and like be it in like such a barrier free way. Like you allow people to come in and try something and give them the opportunity, and like they screw it up, see you later. Like, but it also like it's such a unique environment that like, you know, somebody could be very successful in it, but otherwise would have absolutely no idea. So,
You know,
I think it's like super cool to see like just how big it's gotten. Like Ari's hosting us right now. That's
you know what?
pretty awesome.
Speaking of like passion projects, was Zach Orr's like texting system he had. He used the API that would like you would get a text when the team you wanted was like up next, and so
Oh,
you could
yeah.
go watch you want. And I think it texted you the results too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so stuff like that was like huge.
I just want to point out in this behind the bumpers you guys did that you guys are using a phone as a microphone tethered to a DSLR. Like,
Yes.
you think about like
Something like that.
like how that was and how that's evolved. Even though we still use phones occasionally, but like for the phones actually make great microphones. A lot
I'm
of
not even
people
sure it was a
don't know
DSLR. Maybe like a GoPro.
that. Oh, really?
Yeah.
But even now, like the scalability of media and like it's become so much cheaper to do so much more than what I mean. Fun runs on a very shoestring budget, and I think we're able to do a lot with very little in many circumstances because of that. So can I tell one more quick anecdote real quick? That
Please.
I think, and
Yes.
and by the way, if you're watching this, sorry, we're just going to go on a million tangents here because that's just the way we've known each other for so long. It's just the way it's going to be. So when Fun was first starting out, I'm not going to drop names or anything like that, but I reached out to somebody at first in regards to like kind of what this was and what my vision was for it. I'm like, hey, we'd really like to have some first support for it. And this is kind of how we would like to go about doing that and what it may look like or something like that. And the email I got back was like, no, we're not really interested in making media or anything like that, and we're not interested in that media stuff. And that was before we had webcast truck units. This was before the first really made much of anything on their YouTube channels or anything like that. And it's just funny to see how far that's changed in 10 years. From our perspective, from first perspective, from all that out there of like, oh, it's such a huge deal now to not only be part of the community that way, but to also recruit people in and showcase what the programs are too. Because nowadays, I mean, we're making 50 million views a year on content, and that means there's tons of people who are not in these programs that are also watching our content, and we're bringing people into these programs too. And I think just in general, that's such a cool thing. But it's just funny to look back and be like, nah, we're not really interested in that media stuff, And
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I think it's probably our fault. So I don't know what year it was, but one year they gave Mike and I the game hint reveal show where they were going to reveal the game hint on our show. Do you remember that? You don't say you don't.
I think I do, but like,
So
I remember this.
already knows. So we had a phone call with higher up at first, and they said, we want to do this, want to give you guys this, blah, blah, blah. We decided an NDA because we were going to see the game ahead of time, obviously, for anyone else. So we were not prepared in any way for this. There might have been 1,500 people on a live stream service that I don't think we were paying for at the time. So it's like definitely. So they're throttling us horribly on our bandwidth. It's laggy. People can't see it. Honestly, it was not an unmitigated disaster. We had to reset the whole thing multiple times. You remember this? You probably lots of it's so embarrassing.
what did we get ourselves into?
So we finally get everything back on. We show it, and like we have some show after. But after that, first is probably like, all right, these we want to show it. You got to keep it in out for a few years. So you probably sent the email the next week, Tyler.
Yeah, probably, right?
You got any chance doing it?
I don't know. They gave us the 26, I think it was 2016 or 2017 with the Champs preview, and they gave us the division list early, and we screwed that up royally too. So like with the same internet connections and stuff. So, but it's better now. First, just saying, if you're interested.
It's way better now. Well, yeah, it was probably our fault, Tyler.
All right. let's keep moving on.
We messed that up pretty bad.
Yeah, so Fun is coming together, Mike and Justin coming together. You all have different shows that you want to bring together. So Tyler, Christine, if you want to walk us through some of the first shows that you guys did, and how they branched off of each of sort of the channel's mainstays and what you were doing there.
Christine, real quick, can we talk about how we met?
Look at that.
I think we need to talk about this. You want to give a little bit on this?
It's just
Yeah.
the couch division.
This is the couch division. This was 2016 at Champs, right? 2016. And we were like, I don't even know if we were in that row, but there was an empty pit across from the poofs, basically, and that empty pit just turned into like, couch division. Literally just acquired a lot of furniture. I definitely used my art degree back there on that banner. And oh my gosh, a boo behind us. Like, it was ridiculous. It was like the spare parts. Yep. Oh god, robot. We had a Keurig in there too. We had a Keurig. I think like 3 poofs mentors were asleep in there at one point. There's a selfie stick on there. Wow.
Chesy Vision.
That got rolled out to the field at one point too. I have a photo of that somewhere. But we got interviewed. That was the first time I ever met Tyler, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Tyler from Fun. And Brandon was like, yeah, come here, just stand next to me.
Dude, and we improv that entire thing.
I was gonna say, Tyler, so you and me were like going around doing content, and then I had never met Christine or Brandon. I had like almost no clue who they were. Pretty much no clue. And you and Brandon and Christine, you guys completely ad-libbed this interview. And like, I was astonished that this just like happened. Like, there was no planning. You just went into it. And then this is like unpickable timing by putting this up. This, I think, was the moment where we added in Christine, and like Fun took its not new direction, but took another direction as well. Another avenue. Like, this is really what I think started our friendship, like the 4 of us.
Maybe it was this interview. It was like, there's something here.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, there's magic here.
So I'll give a little story and kind of specific. I remember how I reached out to Christine, because Christine, you had your wordplay all day, like Etsy shop and stuff going on. And I was watching a lot of inspiration from Fun, and kind of the structure of it came from a couple shows on twit.tv, which is a tech-based show. And then also one of their lead people spun out. His name is Tom Merritt, who makes content to this day still. And they had like a resident artist on some of their shows that they did, where they would just draw something during the show. And when Christine and I started meeting, I remember Christine posting some stuff on Cheap Delphi about wordplay all day. I'm like, this would be really cool. Like, can we draw some awesome robots on screen and showcase that? And that was kind of the start of what this was like. And we'll put on a different show that was on the Roast and Robots show, I think, for a little bit. Or this was Let's Draw Robots before, because this went through a couple iterations where we just you just draw cool robots on screen and stuff. I love this. Was so much fun.
That was fun, yeah. And it was like I had no idea what to expect. I was like, wait, what? You want me on? Like, sure, why not? And it was really cool. And it was cool to have people like Frank on. We had, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name, from for like FRC stuff. She designed the field in 2017. Oh, she did like the aesthetics and some of the field design, but I forget. But we had her on, and she talked about like her experience working like as somebody who had never done first before. Like, it was cool to just have people on in a different capacity. And there's been so many makers, I feel like, in the first community that have popped up and like started their own stores and like a lot of other stuff, which is really cool. And like, even just the things that you see displayed within teams, whether it's like their pits or like what they're wearing or how, I don't know, just like other random stuff. The things that people are celebrating and valuing within the culture of this program have shifted a little bit more, I think, to be inclusive of creativity. Like, I don't necessarily push the whole STEAM thing, but I do encourage the whole, like, creativity, outside the box thinking, like application of things in different ways. So it's been cool to see that be accepted and not be totally like, wait, what? Because I was totally game to try it, but I was just kind of shocked that like Tyler wanted me on. So I don't know, I've been wildly appreciative of it. This has been like probably one of the greatest like just unexpected additions in my life within this niche of like of my life, like with robotics. So
Well,
like
and I don't think any of us expected this to go where it has, right? Like, let's just be honest. Although you guys mentioned before, this is just a passion project that has built out of something. And from I think one of the things that we really do try here on Fun is to try new things. Like we still keep some of our old shows, right? Like FRC Top 25 is still around, but like even things like Recap is that's not around anymore. But we tried now with Forecast. What's that? Okay. So I think there's a delay. I'm sorry. But like we always do try to do all these different shows to see what's going to stick, see what's not going to stick. Like a good example, and I do kind of miss this, but typically shows that are actually kind of more like this, where it's more featuring like individual people versus things that are more broad robots or something like that don't do as well. And it's kind of unfortunate because I love shows like this where we get to bring on people of the community, that sort of thing. But that's why we have like in our well, I might blank at our current shows all of a sudden. So in Roundup, for example, we try to bring in a guest, so we do get like a new person on, that sort of thing, for those reasons. But Ari, to go back kind of to your question initially on things, like as we started to grow and we're branching out shows, it's just all about trying new things. We like to listen to. We listen kind of the three groups. We listen to our audience for things. We listen to our current correspondents and hosts for things. And we have to listen to ourselves as staff as well, too, to say, okay, what's actually viable for us to do? Because sometimes those suggestions that we get emailed, that I'm sure Mike and Justin are more than familiar with, sometimes are just not realistic, or sometimes just are not the direction that we want to go for things. We have our own vision for what we want these things to be. And it's not always, going to be exactly the way that everybody else wants it, but we love doing the stuff that we do. And usually that does mesh pretty well, but not always. Sometimes we like to try new directions. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go somewhere else afterwards, that sort of thing.
At one point, we were covering events live, right? I remember having a show where we were watching a certain block.
Game Day Live.
Yeah. Like we were covering events live at one point too.
I think that we did.
That's an interesting story that I don't know if I want to dive too much into on why that got shut down. But
I think one of our biggest strength of our group was that, like, Tyler, you were in marketing, like Christine, you're an elementary art teacher, like Justin's a tech teacher, and I eventually went into like nursing. Like we had this like really diverse group of people who have different interests, and like there's like I think that was reflective of our audience as well. Like we have people that were really interested in robot heavy things. We had people that were interested in just more of like the guests and like talk about first kind of things. So it's like it was really like you said, Tyler, like kind of do different things, see what sticks, see what people like, and not be afraid to like try things out. And Christine, like did we used to send your drawings to somebody from the like that was watching?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or like sometimes too, like it was fun. I would do like a coloring sheet download and stuff, and people could like print it and color along. But even like to the point of like being inclusive, or like just kind of listening to your audience members, like that resonates in such a like micro way, I feel like, with Fun still, in addition to like your bigger picture approach to things. Like even the way that you're acknowledging people within like your chat constantly, or even like within like the community, whether it was on like Slack for a while, or on Discord, or on wherever, like your commitment to just like that acknowledgement or like inclusivity, and like trying to like acknowledge different perspectives, like on a bigger level, like trying to be well-rounded in like what you were delivering in your content, like I think is what's always grown the community and kept it consistent regardless of like the shape or like the form that some of this content gets delivered in. Because I think it's that whole sense of like gather around the campfire kind of feeling.
Totally.
And like in before I was thinking about how like the in-between moments on Top 25 and like recap and stuff from like the very beginning like until now are, I think, what people are coming for. Like we can all show the data points to a T, like in all different portable ways, like on so many different platforms that if we really just wanted the data to see who the top 25 truly were by the numbers, like that's out there. However, like there are people constantly tuning in and, you know, putting in their own opinions and everything else because they want to be a part of the conversation in between more than they do like finding out who the top 25 actually are.
Yeah, and I think premiere night was a big thing for that, right? Like
Yeah.
just bringing again, she used the campfire analogy, right? Bringing people together, and that's another show that's just evolved and exploded into an awesome thing as well. So I think you hit the nail right in the head there.
I think premiere night had such like weight to it too because that content of like, you know, being able to go watch teams actually compete during the season was not really there. Like,
Right.
not even being like, back when I was in high school. It's like, no, like literally back in like, 2016, like
Pre-COVID,
2015.
right?
Yeah. Like the ability to really watch matches, like now we could just be like, well, I want it now. Like it's 2025. But before it was like, no, you really had to either go like see if you could find the webcast or try to show up or I don't know, like hope somebody took it. Like, let's hope Pascal is there taking great video and
Right,
labeling
right.
everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if any other teams are doing that in any other places, but like some of our best match footage from like even 2017 was really just like individual teams that had a designated camera setup. So
Yeah, on their robot that uploaded it or something,
Yeah.
Can I use this, by the way, to make a sad announcement that unfortunately premiere night will not be coming back for this year. And last year I think will be the last year of premiere night. So it's
What's you saying, man?
I know it's a sad day, but
well, if you think about it, it's like there's a lot of premiering going on every
yeah,
night
and that's
during
really
building
the
season
big thing,
now.
right? We only the thing is that we want to do it if
And
the
it's
community
changed.
wants to embrace it, right? And
Yep.
it's post COVID we've seen that kind of drop. It's kind of wavered a little bit and drop. And for those who don't know, premiere night, the making that and the production work for it is a insane amount of work.
Well, and it's changed. Like, there's no bag anymore. Like so. It's just not like it used to be. So.
Yeah, so pour one out for premiere night, but
Yeah, I mean, you can also do like like I said, we could do like a celebration of something still.
It would be fun to do at the end of the season, like send in like your week 1 robot, your midpoint, and then your end of season, and then your postseason robot, like transformation. Like I don't know, like
and that goes in well, just talking about how fun kind of continually changes, right? Ari, it's like we're always making new content and changing, based on what our audience needs are, what our viewership metrics say, what our hosts are able to do, and what our correspondents want to do as well. It's just, and Ari, you came on board, 2018 was your first season?
2018, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and think about, what are for you, like, what are some of the big changes from like 2018 to like now that like you've noticed as well, or that you've been able to experience, because you've been in a lot of different content pieces with Fun.
Yeah, so 2018 was the first time that Fun really opened up for applicants to be hosts. And I had just graduated high school. I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing. I want to talk about Central New York Regional so bad, and I don't care what the audience is. So started doing recaps. We brought in a bunch of different hosts from all over to talk about their specific regions. And from there, it kind of evolved into talking about specific events and teams to look out for. That's one of the pieces that we really evaluated and said, okay, so the recap of every single event ever is very long and doesn't really get the viewership that we want it to. We want to, kind of bring people in from outside of the tent. So really evaluating what the audience was looking for at that time, because we have one of these interesting things where our audience changes every single year. We have new people who we want to bring in to look at these content pieces, but also like alumni that we want to keep on and keep bringing content to. So this play of the audience really makes a lot of our shows like we can try it for 1 year and it works, and it doesn't work in another year, and we have to sort of tune it and change it. So in reality, like my role was eventually for doing these reviews of what events happened, but now it's more of looking at teams and highlighting some of the teams that might go unnoticed at events. Really kind of highlighting teams that might not be well known outside their area. So I started in 2018, and I'm still coming back. So
and we're happy that you are. So it's I think that's one of the cool things too, is that there's so many people that have been around for a really long time. Like since we started in 2018 and recruiting the other correspondents and bringing in, like, our retention rate is so high, and that's because we all do this because we just want to do it, right? Like we're just so passionate about what it is. And I think that is something that I think has differentiated us from like more the traditional media outlets out there, is that every single person that is in fun is or is some sort of state been involved in these programs. And so all of us bring our own passions for things. And, we're at, to date right now, across our 3 programs that we cover, we have 85 people now in like 12 countries. So it's incredible to just think that like these are all people that are in different cultures, are in different ways of life, and yet we all come together for this passion to just showcase teams, showcase the students, and make this program as loud as possible in our own way for things.
Yeah, I think the value. Please, sorry. I was going to say the value in that is that the perspective that we each bring, I think, brings in like it almost not validates, but it helps others feel like, oh yeah, also I thought that too. Like, but it like brings an inclusive level that like I think is hard to find sometimes, even within a team or like within a, like a friend circle or whatever. Like I'm definitely not somebody who's great at game analysis whatsoever, but like doing recap and like kind of going over notes, like we've all helped each other out. Like IORE, like whatever the equivalent of a firstborn is nowadays, for all the like help that was provided in previous, recaps, because sometimes like I just literally don't know a team that well, and it would be so like messed up for me to just be like looking at these data points and watching this game flow, and like I don't know what the in between stuff was like, and I was like, whoa, let me, and it just adds this whole nother level of narrative like to that thing, and it's like just those like kind of combos alone, or even just the joke kind of woven in, like it just brings such a different, I don't know, inviting feel, in my opinion, like to just like a very, I don't know, sometimes like having conversations about like even just like recaps of events, it's like everybody's been like talked over, or like I don't know, like bro-splained at about like, no, it's about like OPR, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, never mind. But I feel like anybody within the first program can find like their people within like any of these shows at some point. And it's like it's so sick that it's also like at different levels too. Like FTC has their own platform now to be able to go and watch. Like I'm following like the FTC fun page on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, this game actually looks good this year. Maybe I'll go and show it to one of my team's events.
Yeah.
But only because I saw it on Fun.
So branching out to cover FTC was one of the sort of big leaps that Fun took in terms of really growing the community. So what were the challenges there, and what actually made us take that leap?
Yeah, challenge is definitely the right word for that. So, yeah, FTC was sort of thing. I mean,
First tech challenge.
Yeah, and the way that FTC started is so Nathan and Ethan were kind of started creating some content. So by the way, if you're not, Nathan is still very much so involved. Put them up on screen, but Nathan is still very much involved with like Chicago Robotics Invitational Premiere event. Ethan works for GoBuilda as well too. So you have people that are still very involved in these programs, which are really cool. But they essentially came up to me right before first championships I think it was in 18 or something like that. Like, hey, we're kind of thinking about, we like what you guys do, and we kind of want to do something like it. Can we make stuff for you? And I'm just kind of like, it's championships. Leave me alone right now, right? And I pretty much said, well, why don't you guys do something and kind of make a proof of concept for things, and then we can talk afterwards if it makes sense. And they end up doing a great job in creating something for that. And we kind of just went from there, where it was just like, okay, now we have once again passionate people who want to help make content. So we just started emulating essentially what we were doing in FRC with Recap, with the FTC Top 25, with Behind the Bot, which is what became the equivalent for that. And that's kind of just the way that really branched off. But what I'll tell you, I think the big challenge that we had in FTC were a couple things. One, the culture, especially at the time of FTC, was quite a bit different. It reminded me actually back from when I was in high school a long time ago, where robots were extremely secretive. There wasn't a lot of sharing in things at all. So it was very difficult for us to get content. And number two is that the mentor structure is very, very different in FTC, right? I think it's kind of amalgamated a little bit more, and maybe that has to do with, we have first alumni now that are directors of these programs and stuff, but it was very much like when a student graduated, they were done. And that's how that culture was for a very long time. But the problem with that for us too is it's very hard for us to retain hosts and correspondents for things. We went through quite a few lead people in FTC before we got to a boss who's been our lead for a while now, and he's absolutely phenomenal. We had great people before that too, but what happened is they would graduate and they were almost just ostracized from the community for a long time, especially in the FTC Discord back in the day. And I'm happy to report that I think that's changed a lot. And I'm not saying we're by any means the only culture change agent to what that is, but I think we actually did have a decent part in that, of like showcasing teams like, it's okay to show off your designs. It's okay to show off your robots. Let's all learn from each other and grow that way. And so I'm really proud that we've been able to do something like that. But for us, FTC was more one of those like, okay, we'll do it because, we have people who are interested in doing it. I'm not going to lie, there were many occasions where I thought about just getting rid of FTC on fun. And because it became so much of a headache at some point. I was stressing myself out. I was probably stressing out other people over it too, I'm sure. And it was just one of those like, if we don't find somebody to kind of really take the bull by the horns and consistently do things, all I'm doing is repeating myself over and over again on trying to, create this content or train people, that sort of thing. And thankfully, I think we've got a really good rhythm now with that in FTC. And it's taken a while. And like I said, credit to everybody along the way who has helped create FTC content for us, because it wasn't always a great time because things would not work, things would fail, people, wouldn't follow through, and all that leads to frustration for things. And now I think we have a really great team, and we just expanded our FTC crew by quite a bit. I think we have close to almost 30 people now involved in our FTC content. And we're actually seeing from Fun's perspective that FTC is our growth area now. Where, in FRC I think in both programs are pretty colloquial with who knows about us and that sort of thing. But FTC is just so much larger in terms of teams and that sort of thing, that the amount of teams that are aware of who we are, and we've had less years to really have a consistent flow, is lesser than what FRC is. I don't think for us in FRC programs, we're really going to grow that much more than what FRC is growing, or retracting, unfortunately, maybe. But with that program, we're kind of reached like a limit, right? Where FTC for us, I think there is still a much larger limit for that. And us starting to create V5 RC content as well too now, we're kind of seeing the same things with that, where those are kind of our big growth areas. And it doesn't mean we're going to scale back on FRC by any means. We're going to still continue that course. But for us, where we're looking at, investing an increased amount, and it's probably going to definitely be FTC over FRC, even though FRC, we're still going to continue. We still brought on, as we're recording this, we just brought on 9 people to help out with FRC too. But FTC for us has really become that growth area of, there's just so many more teams that are starting to become involved in, and there's a lot of cool designs now to showcase, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, Tyler, it was really I think a lot of that too was, as we've talked about, this is passion projects, and to get, not that the high school students weren't passionate, but they just said there was other constraints that high school students have. They're on the school schedule, they're under parents' roof still. They're so I think there's a lot more variables into making that successful. But the way you managed that and handled that, I think it was just really great to get to where, and you stuck with it, barely at times. I feel
that's true.
But to get to where it is now, I think, that's huge.
Yeah.
2025, we're headed into the year 2026. Fun covers 3 different programs: FRC, FTC, and V5RC through RECF. So we branched out with FTC, and a little difficult. What was it like branching out beyond a first focus?
Yeah. So I'll try to make that story short for things. So we initially had discussions with the REC Foundation back in 2018 in regards to creating content for them as well. I emceed Vex Worlds for a couple of years. A lot of firsters were emceeing Vex Worlds back in the day for things. So we're like, okay, is it possible to do something like that? And that was kind of where my initial decisions were. I'm like, hey, can fun become my career for things as well? Instead of, it is obviously still a huge passion project, but uh, and so that initial conversations when Dan Mance, who was a mentor on 3310 Blackhawk Robotics, so that's became the CEO of the REC Foundation. He was over at Rackspace Solutions for IFI. We had initial discussions for that, and it didn't work out. That's the way business is sometimes, right? And what happened is post-COVID, for things as this became my career in 22, I think 21 leading to 22 season, that's when I left my career. Those discussions started again. We're like, okay, can you do what you're doing in first, and can that be done for RECF programs? And so we started kind of building out a plan of what that could look like essentially. And so one of the things that RECF does, I think is really, really cool, is they have these things called signature events. Now, they may sound familiar to the premier events that like FTC does, but these have been out for 10 years now and really evolved a lot. And signature events are essentially, they're kind of like the FTC premier events, where these more grandiose types of events, but they happen during the competition season, and they can qualify you for Vex Worlds as well too, which I think is really cool. Like, you can go to these separate events and do that, which is really neat. So the conversation came to like, hey, can we potentially do stuff in V5 programs and create content? And the answer initially was no. We would need to redo funding for it. That's a difficult task to do. Like, how do we figure out they actually pay for these things? Because unfortunately, as much as a passion project everything still costs money, and trying to figure out where that goes. So the RC Foundation came in and said, well, what if instead of trying to find sponsors right away, that we support you and we fund you in doing this? And so that's where that started from. It's like, okay, we're going to pick out X amount of these signature events. And that was their big thing, is like, hey, we want you to cover these signature events, because those are, these big grandiose things. And you're going to go to those events and create content based on that, similar to what you do in first. And so that's just kind of grown in. I will say, like, our viewership in V5 programs is tremendously, like, has what we thought was going to take 5 years took 5 months to get to in terms of scalability. And the average viewership on these videos is actually higher than what it is in first programs. Now, there's some reasons to that too, because right now, instead of having all these correspondents like we do in the first side, which is great, it is just the two staff members of Fun, myself and Samantha, who's our editor, and it's just the two of us going to these events. So it's a very different model, right, in terms of how we can scale and grow that, where we're limited by, what events we're at, versus we can grow a lot bigger in terms of first. But there's always a couple things in terms of like quality control, in terms of the scarcity, I would say, maybe, that there's not going to, be, people can't just expect fun's going to be at events, that I think kind of lead to more viewership per video. And the one thing I'll kind of conclude that, one of the things that I've always said on the first side of things is that, and Ari, you know this because I posted this recently, there's a lot of content we make that just straight up Fun does not make money on. Like, we lose money on a lot of content that we make, because we want to make the content and we want to showcase teams. And that's more important to us than necessarily just making money. But the reality and the truth is that if we only made like 25, 30 behind the bumpers a year or something like that in FRC, those content pieces would get more views per video than what we do now. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, because we want to feature and showcase more teams. So that's very important to us, is how do we do that? And so we view, the V5 program, or any other things that we might expand to, is that we're getting an opportunity to showcase these teams and these students, and all these programs have great opportunities for these students to grow in STEAM fields and to do something more with themselves. I mean, all of us are alumni of this program, right? Of a first robotics competition program. We all can attribute back to quite a few things, I'm sure, that have made or had personal growth within ourselves to do what we do and become the people that we are now. And I think that's incredibly important to showcase in any of these programs out there, that these things are possible and these students are awesome, and we really should be showcasing them.
Absolutely. So with that, I'll head into sort of our conclusion here. But if we just want to go around and share, looking back, there has been so many things that make this community what it is, and this group of passionate people, the group that really comes together to make this what it is. So, looking back at this 10-year history, even further back with Mike and Justin in the morning, what are you most proud of from the group's journey so far?
I think we were just unapologetically us. I think especially in the early years, I think we knew we had flaws. Like I think we knew we weren't going to make everybody happy. We knew we were going to be late. We knew that the show would just go on forever and not get anything. Like I just think like we just kept at it because we loved it.
Yeah.
And for some reason other people loved it too.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's just like something I'm just really like I don't know, excited about it. It has led us to meet so many people, the people in this call right now, and so many like literally hundreds of others, like just at championship, like meeting people because of the show, you know, and just like making the first world a lot smaller in ways like that. So I don't know about you, but
I agree with all of that. I'm just gonna pick something different. I'm proud that we've always kind of kept the focus, I think, on the teams and finding ways to bring exposure to teams. As much as we love the 254s, 2056s of the world, it would have been easy to like latch on to and like try to kind of maintain and build that core. We took a step back several times and said, how can we get more teams involved? How can we talk about more teams? We did that with fireside 25. We did that with Premiere Night, right? How can we find ways to bring in exposure to the teams that don't always get the spotlight?
And I think that's part of the adaptability that we've kind of been talking about with the show and trying new things, because I don't know if that really was I think our first focus was the top 25 teams. Let's talk about them. Let's dive into them. And then as it evolved, it was like, hey, like there's a lot of other great teams out here. And like how, like you said, like how do we then now bring attention to them? And Tyler, like you were saying, like there's a lot of content pieces that will get minimal views, but like, and aren't going to make money, but it was like, that is going to expose not only this team, but like the fun universe to more people. And that's how we're going to grow too. So, I think that like, that was a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I don't think I could have said it any better than Mike. I think being able to be a part of something that allows us to be who we are and kind of, I love how Mike said, like, just kind of make the first world a little smaller in that sense. Like, that's a really awesome thing to be a part of. And then also, like, to add on to what Justin was saying, like, something I value about this group of people is that the commitment to not just featuring more teams, but doing it in a way that is bringing in that like wow factor that like the 254s and the 2056s, like committing to delivering to every team, like to the level that, you know, you guys would, or anybody on Fun would for any of the elite teams, like just providing that like platform to have the conversations about in a way where it's like, we're still going to talk about it like in a well-rounded way, but I don't know, providing like that just platform for any team to be spoken about in a way that's like they're being like the work that they put in is being honored in the capacity that like a 2056 would, I guess you could say. And just seeing that commitment from, you know, Mike and Justin in the morning all the way to where we are now. And the people that are onboarded, like the expectation of like the quality and like the just like general respect and like appreciation that's going to be put into it. Like it's a ton of work. It's something that I'm constantly astonished by, and like just the delivery that like the product and then just the product and then being a part of it too. Like even like in the chat or even just people that are, you know, providing data and other stories to be shared throughout, you know, each of the episodes. So it's just been like really special to be a part of. And it's definitely a part of this program that I didn't expect to be able to be a part of. So I feel crazy lucky to be a part of it.
I think for me, there's kind of two main things that stand out. As one that was kind of aforementioned, where it's I think the challenge that the barrier that we have been able to break that wasn't broken before, and why fun has grown to where it is that a lot of content back in the day was really just focused on the 2% in first or 2% FRC, the people that were on cheap Delphi, things like that, right? And that's great. People like, everybody needs content that speaks to them, right? Which is why we create such a wide variety of content, because we know that certain content pieces are going to speak to these people, some are going to speak to these people, some speak to both. And that to me, I'm really proud that we've been able to break that barrier. That it's, we hear from, grandparents, we hear from, somebody that's, a one-shop teacher team and things like that they find benefits out of it. Mike, are you thinking about that grandma that came up to us many years ago? Yeah. So,
Yeah, was it you or like me and Justin or the three? I can forget who, but I was like, definitely he's like middle-aged to late middle-aged women that came up to us.
yeah. And but like things like that to me, like, I think about, in terms of when I go to events, like I love meeting people. I love hearing the passion of the students bring for things and realizing that my time as a student's over, right? And so I need to figure out how can I make these students shine, and what would I like when I was a student to have something like that. And that's really what that comes down to. I think number two for me is that I think we've been able to really showcase how global these programs are. And we have an impossible task because these programs are so big and yet small at the same time. In the terms of the internet, V5 and FIRST are minuscule, right? They're in terms of the size of the internet, the amount of people that are involved in these programs is very small, even if it is a couple million people. But, in terms of the internet, that's not a lot. That's a low market cap, as we would say, for that. And however, there are teams in, dozens of countries, hundreds of countries that are involved. I don't even know if there are multiple hundreds, but there's teams in a lot of countries. And trying to showcase as much as we can for that. Like we just brought on some correspondents from Kazakhstan this year. We're trying to showcase, people, we brought in somebody from the UK this year. We brought in, more Romanian correspondents and stuff. It's impossible that we're never going to be able to cover everywhere. And usually when we bring correspondents on, the number one thing is like, why do you want to do this? It's because, well, my area doesn't get enough representation. And it's like, the reality is, it's just, it sucks, but somebody's going to get left out. And yet I still feel like we do, tons and tons. We make thousands of content pieces a year, and yet we still have people that feel that way. And it's one of those, it's like that's our goal to strive to get even better and to showcase more and more. And that to me is like what keeps me going personally, is that there's always opportunities to do more. We are never, let's just be really frank, the market cap and the potential market of making money and content in this is never going to be humongous. It's just not going to be. We all do this because we want to do this and because we want to get back and things like that. And it has never been about the money for this. And thankfully I've been able to make enough money to make a modest career out of this. I'm just going to tell you, it's modest, but, and that's about it. So it's never going to probably be more than that. And I'm okay with that because this is what I get personal fulfillment out of is being able to showcase teams and be able to make students proud and make their parents proud and get other people to say, oh, what is this? I want to learn more about this so my kid can get involved. And I think things like that personally fulfill at least me and I think many others that are in fun of terms of like, I've graduated, I'm not in these programs, I still want to get back somehow. Here's a great way to do it. And that's where we hear from countless individuals who join in and stay with fun, is because we provide an outlet that otherwise wouldn't be there. And it feels self-fulfilling to say this a little bit, but I think about if fun didn't exist anymore all of a sudden, a void that would be left that I don't know would exactly be filled in a way that we've been able to do something like that, because the amount of work that goes into this is just, the amount of work and the amount of people that we have involved in this is just absolutely insane. And I just want to, real quick, I just want to thank everybody that has, like, if you're watching this and you were ever part of fun, like, thank you for this. Like people come and people go sometimes. Life carries people in many different directions, or maybe this wasn't for you or something like that. Just know sincerely, like I know I do, and I know everybody else does, sincerely appreciate any time that you put into to help make this and help showcase teams.
Absolutely, because who would have thought that from the early days to hiring someone in Kazakhstan is absurd.
Yeah, that's crazy. Really,
that is just absolutely awesome.
It really is. I think it was just for being this global program. you barely knew somebody across town like that was in in another program. Or, like you had some friends maybe in district areas at the time you were a little closer, but it's like there has to be more. Like there has to be people outside of our shop that feel this way about like robotics, and that's kind of like where it started, I think, to bring it all back home.
What about you, Ari?
So what am I most proud of? I think that the reason that I joined was, of course, because I felt that my area wasn't getting enough attention and needed to be talked about at a grander scale, like everyone. But I think that the thing that I am most proud of is being able to seriously highlight the teams that completely fly under the radar and deserve the attention that we're giving them. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've had a team come up to me at district championships, even off seasons, and be like, thank you so much for even giving us a shout out on like your preview or top 25 or something, because that meant everything to our kids and our program, and seeing what they're capable of be recognized on a world stage. That is what I'm most proud of. Being able to recognize the work that they do, but also just kind of recognizing like, yes, like even though you're a small team from the middle of Massachusetts and the North Woods up there, you deserve to be highlighted on this stage. And I think watching those teams evolve over the years has been very, very fulfilling. Well, I can't wait to do more of it.
Very well said. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Tyler, Christine, Justin, and Mike, for your time and for all that you have done for fun. We are so appreciative of the work that's been put in from the very beginning up until now. So thank you so much. As we wrap up this conversation, it's clear that the Fun Robotics Network has always been about more than just broadcasts. It's about the people, the teams, the shared moments that have brought this community together over the years. From the early days to where they are now, Fun Robotics Network continues to be built on passion, collaboration, and connection, and we're looking forward to the future. But until then, thank you for joining us on this episode of First Rewind. If you enjoyed this look into Fun's history and growth, be sure to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Fun moment has been, and we'll see you next time on Rewind.